Hi, I'm Joni Patry, and welcome to my YouTube channel. Well, today I want to talk about Mars, and the reason why I make it a point to talk about Mars and where it's transiting is because Mars is a focal point. Mars is energy. Did you know Mars is the planet that rules courage and willpower? That's a pretty darn important thing because in my opinion, you can't get anything done unless you have the will to do it. Willpower. That is so important in life. So wherever Mars is transiting, that's where the will, that's where the power. And I often call Mars a trigger because Mars will trigger things, making things happen. And of course, wherever it is in your chart and when it aspects your natal planets, it's a trigger to things, big time. And Mars, as you well know, rules anger. Yes. So that's an energy, that's an emotion, and Mars can fuel it big time. So I want to talk about where Mars is going to be, and it's going to shift into the sign of Sagittarius, where it's going to remain from December 7th through January 15th in the sign of Sagittarius. And Sagittarius is the sign of truth. If you know anybody that has a lot of Sagittarian planets or ascendant, you know how much they want to know the truth. They make it their life mission to know the truth, right? They do. And people, Sagittarians not only are truthful, but do you know what else I've noticed about them? They are truthful, but they want everyone to believe their truth. So I could say they're pretty darn opinionated, but hey, aren't we all? But this is the qualities of Sagittarius. Now, before I get going deeper, I want to remind everyone to sign up for my free newsletter. Go to galacticcenter.org. You will get my predictions weekly. Also, check out my Patreon. It's an amazing spiritual community. Seriously, look at all that it offers. You'll find that on my website. It is a lot. You will get a lot out of this community. Furthermore, if you want to know how Mars, all the planets are affecting you personally every day, you want my Galactic Planner. Go to galacticplanner.com. And then again, if you want to study with me and become my student, go to my university website, universityofvedicastrology.com. Okay, moving forward about this Mars, I want to go deeper. As Mars is in the sign of Sagittarius, as I said, it will uncover a lot of truths. But another thing about Sagittarius is, it is the sign of justice. And that is something that I feel like has been lacking in the world. There's been so much injustice, it appears. Because there's been so many things that people get away with. They lie, they cheat, and they get away. And all of us are looking at, hey, if that was me, it wouldn't be so easy to get off, right? So it feels so unjust. A lot of things during this whole process of Mars being in Sagittarius will come to the surface. Another thing, though, is Mars is traveling with the Sun. And it will come together with the Sun exactly the first week of January. That whole week, you're going to feel the intensity of the anger that Mars can bring about. And the Sun does deal with leadership, rulers around the world, presidents, kings. This will deal with that. There's going to be some anger projected at how people are running their countries. And just people are going to be on edge, so very angry. Now here is another thing to take note of. Mars will be Gandanta. And what does that mean? When it is in the last degrees of the water sign and the first degrees of fire, that's where Mars energy becomes out of control. Because Gandanta to me actually has a reference to drowning, feeling like you can't get a grasp of things, you can't control things, out of control. So that will be December 5th and 6th that Mars will be Gandanta in Scorpio. Okay, the last degrees of water. But then when it first enters into Sagittarius, December 7th, probably till the 9th, it'll be in the early degrees of Sagittarius, which is extremely powerful and fiery. And it's even in the Nakshatra Mula, which is destructive. So you're going to see this Mars is very destructive during these times. But as it comes together with the Sun, that will be the most destructive of all. So Mars will be conjunct the Sun in January, and this is always something dangerous, and sometimes it deals with attacks. But I tell you what, people will be enraged and angry around this time, whether we have any major strikes or not. And I remember one time when Mars exactly conjoined the Sun before, it was the bombing of the Boston Marathon. So things like that can happen, not always, but it can. So I want you to be aware that it will be, Mars conjunct the Sun will be January 5th through the 10th. And they will travel together 21 through 26 degrees of Sagittarius during that 5-day peak of them coming together. And I also noticed that on January 8th, and of course I'm talking 2026, that Mars will be conjunct the Sun and Venus will be conjunct. All three will be conjunct the Sun at 24 degrees of Sagittarius. There's going to be major shifts in the stock market with that, because both those planets are combust the Sun, or on that day they're Cassimi. But after that, they're pretty much combust, they're burnt. There's going to be issues with financial markets and things like that. Venus usually has to deal with that. But Mars coming together with that makes it a big bang. But let's go back to December when we have Mars first entering into Sagittarius, the sign of truth and justice and anger. All those things are what are being stirred up. But December 7th through December 25th, Mars will be in the Nakshatra Mula. Remember, in a sign, there are 3 different nakshatras that really do make each portion of the sign quite different. And Mula is ruled by Ketu, and it's about destruction. So this is like a really potent and not easy place for Mars. Also, while it's in Mula, around when it first goes in, let's see, it'll be sometime in the middle of this time frame, December 7th through the 25th, that it will cross over the galactic center. The galactic center sits around 6 degrees of Sagittarius. And that is profound and deep. There are some deep, dark things coming about. And actually, did you know in that portion of the zodiac is where there are the most black holes from our vantage point. And black holes suck in energy and explode. They're extraordinarily powerful. And that's what this portion of the zodiac in the Nakshatra Mula deals with. This like sucking in destruction, and really takes you to other levels of awareness and consciousness. I often say that, going through a black hole will bring you to a different dimension. So, but of course we're not going to be, we'll be destroyed before we could do such a thing, going through black holes. But black holes have that deep, dark energy, and that's where Mars is going to be. Deep, dark energy. A lot of things will probably come out and be exposed that will make people angry. That's what I see with that. So December 25th through January 1st, Mars will go into the nakshatra Purva Ashada in Sagittarius. Purva Ashada has to deal with truth for sure. So here's what I think. All of the destruction and things while Mars is in Mula will reveal things that pretty much makes people very angry and upset. But when it's in Purva Ashada, the truth comes out and a healing can start to occur that deals specifically with justice. So what is being exposed? The justice, the results, the retribution will come about at this time. So that's from December 25th to January 1st. And then January 2nd through the end of Sagittarius, of course, this nakshatra extends beyond Sagittarius into Capricorn, but I'm just talking about Mars being in Sagittarius. So January 2nd to the 15th, it will be in Uttara Ashada, which is lighter than Purva Ashada. The Ashadas are both about finding truth, justice, and truthfulness, all that abounds. So here's what I think. Throughout these nakshatras, they say Uttara Ashada is not as severe. So the lessening up of the severity and what's going on, and a healing from all of the digging up of the dark stuff that comes out of these dark places like black hole energy. And then there's going to be a healing and retribution, justice served to all the things that have been so upsetting for so long. Don't forget Mars coming together though with the Sun in January will stir things up around the world with leadership, kingship, and anger. People will be in major discord. And it's so interesting, this whole 2025 and into 2026, most of the situations really that are happening globally deal with anger. Anger. People are angry. I go into a whole dissertation in my December predictions about why is everyone so angry? And I think it does deal with justice primarily. People want justice, fairness in the world. And this Mars is surfacing and bringing this out, especially more than anything in the sign of Sagittarius. It's the sign of justice and rulings that will make things more fair. And this can calm down. Of course, we got some blow-ups with Mars being with the Sun, but this can calm down a lot of the anger. And as everyone says, the angry rhetoric. I mean, the whole thing with Charlie Kirk and what's been going on with people throwing all these nasty, horrible things around to people. People are getting meaner, it seems like. And hey, even the comments in YouTubes, they're meaner than ever. People are angry. What happens when people are angry? They tend to project their anger out on other people because they want to cast blame. They don't want to feel that anger. And when they blame other people, they don't feel the anger. It's not about them. It's nothing they created or did. But when you cast blame, you're becoming a victim. And victims will never ever achieve their goals. Why? Because they're too busy blaming other people and circumstances in their life for their lack. And if you want something, you've got to fight for it and you've got to work for it. And quit blaming. Mars is a powerful component where we can take back our power. Because what did I start out with? Yes, Mars is energy. Mars is red. It even rules our blood. So, you know, when people get angry, they said their blood's boiling, right? It gets hot. But more than anything, Mars is our willpower. I want you to use your willpower to change your life because I want you to get everything that you deserve and you want in life. But that does mean dropping the victimhood and taking charge to realize what it is you can do to change your situations. Being angry about it just makes it worse. Take back your control. Use the Martian energy for what it's good for. Besides, Mars rules sports, being active, energetic, willpower, drive, ambition. That's Mars. Mars in the fire sign of Sagittarius can be very, very empowering. Use that energy personally for yourself, for self-achievement, and set your goals. Mars will give you the energy and the drive to get there. Besides, Mars being in the sign of a fire sign, Sagittarius, gives us inspiration. So we need to find our inspiration to change ourselves, to be what we've come here to be, to achieve what we want with our lives. That breeds a life of satisfaction and fulfillment. And Mars is a key planet for us to fulfill our dreams. So with that, I think I'll close. Remember, if you would like more information on me, go to my website, galacticcenter.org. Thank you.